Welcome to the Change Energizer podcast. I'm your host, Scott Carley, and today, here's what we're unpacking. Fractured trust. That moment when something feels off. Oh my word, what happened? What changed? And how people earned their way back. Because trust isn't rebuilt with words, it's rebuilt with actions over time. And trust isn't just something we talk about until it falters. A fracture in your expertise, a misleading comment that lingers, a promise that doesn't hold, an unexpected switch that makes someone wonder. And suddenly the real question becomes, can I still trust you? Well, on this podcast, we'll explore how trust is repaired through what I call the trust credit score. A way to understand how trust is calibrated through the 5 pillars. And we're using an acronym, TRUST, your true motives, your radiance and how you show up, your underlying core values, your skill set and expertise, and then your track record. So today's episode starts with a real moment when trust took a hit. And then we get into what rebuilding reality looks like. Not perfection, just honesty, consistency, and showing up. So my guest today is Scott Schiller. Now, Scott is a wealth advisor. He was actually my second guest when we started the podcast. So we just have a great relationship. Scott, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Scott. Thanks for having me back. I really enjoyed our last talk, and when you let me know to come back, I'm happy to be here. Thrilled. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. We've had a great relationship, and we see each other all the time. We both live in the Austin area, and this guy, he has a very high trust credit score with me, and I've vetted him out. I'm watching him like a hawk, and not really, but he does have a great reputation. But we all know that trust has its fractures. Things happen and we have to say, oh man, how did that happen? Why did I let that go? Or, well, I didn't see that coming. And when that happens, we can't just pretend that everything's okay. Sometimes people have to have some answers. So are you willing to get back into the hot seat today and talk about that, Scott?
Always.
In the trust credit score, as I just mentioned, there's 5 areas that trust is generated from. And when it falters or when it takes a hit, then we look to trust accelerators, where we get very specific about some things that we can do to intentionally rebuild that trust. Now, man, the whole book was written because I just blew trust out of the water and really messed up and had to be very open and transparent and rebuild trust. But over time, and it took quite a while for me, but over time, that trust was rebuilt, and maybe it's stronger today than it's ever been. So, Scott, I don't know, man. I mean, you're a wealth advisor. You've been around the block once or twice. And, have you ever had a situation where trust got fractured?
Oh, absolutely. And thank you, Scott. And yes, this is my 20th year in financial services. And yeah, I'm happy to share a couple of examples. And by the way, I love the book and my line of work, which is being a fiduciary and advising people on their money and their goals and their lives. Our entire foundation is built on trust. I mean, it's the whole thing. And my entire business is trust, and with my clients and people I talk to. And so, yeah, I'm happy to share a couple of examples on it. One in particular that really stands out to me was early on in my practice. I was introduced to somebody, and my process, I usually meet with somebody 3 or 4 different times so I can get a good understanding of their goals, what's important to them, their financial picture, and all of these different things. And so that way I can be in an actual position to give recommendations. And so one thing that I'll go into what I've changed as a result of this scenario was I had, gone into it thinking I had this amazing plan for her. I was going to meet all of her needs, answer all of her questions, and just knock it out of the park for her. And I was all excited to just deliver this tremendous amount of value, right? And so I go into in our first three meetings, I felt great. I felt like, I had asked great questions, great body language. I felt like things were flowing really well between us, and also trust goes two ways with me and my client as well. I need to be able to trust them too. But with her, I presented an investment option, and she didn't was very much, and I didn't realize this, was very much against the compensation model that I had presented. It wasn't like it was too high or anything like that. It was just the substance of it. So there's different ways that I can be compensated. And so she was very uncomfortable with that. And I was not prepared for that part of it and was not able to pivot quickly in that particular meeting. And she shut me down like you can only imagine. I went from having what I felt like was a really great trust score to basically zero very quickly. And it was a situation where, as a fiduciary, I'm required to act in the best interest of the client. I want to anyway. It's what I do. It's my whole business. And so it's not like I went into it thinking I was gonna, break her trust or anything like that. But it was just something I needed to learn from, and I really was never able to this day able to recover. And so my only hope is that she has found a good planner and that she's comfortable with and getting her needs met. And I did follow up many times after that.
I won't say I've been there, done that exactly like that, but there have been times when I just, all I could do is smell the roses, and boy, this was looking great and this is going to be wonderful. And then I just get blindsided out of something, and that's what I'm hearing. You got blindsided out
Completely.
of
Yeah.
something. You don't do this for
Uh-huh.
free. You have to be compensated some way. We all have to be compensated. That's not rocket science. But the way she felt about the model that you use, which is a model many financial advisors and wealth advisors use, she just went, "Oh my word! I can't. No, we're shutting down." And so then the question becomes, oh, well, so you knew exactly how to take care of that, closing objection and pivot and turn, but all that didn't work, did it?
It didn't work at all, and absolutely not. And what I was showing her was a very traditional, very typical fee-based investment advisory model where
Yeah.
you hire a professional to manage your account, watch it and update you on it, and they earn a percentage fee. And there's a lot of value to be had as from the client from that. And so I believe in it. I think it's great, but not everybody does. And so what I've learned in thinking about the mistake, if you want to call it a mistake, it was just a learning lesson for me, was I make sure to ask a couple of different things. First off, in my first or second meeting, I will show somebody, and I've got a great, nice, easy to read flyer I can put up on a big screen, and we can have a conversation about the different ways in which I can work for them and be compensated. Because it's one of the best questions to ask a financial planner or a financial advisor you may be considering for the first time. Absolutely do not ever be afraid to ask them, hey, how do you get paid? I would like to know that. And you should, as a client, you absolutely should and need to know that
Yes.
so that you know what's going on. And so it's never a question I shy away from. And in fact, now I just go ahead and get in front of it. But also, even deeper than that, Scott, is I need to ask deeper questions about their previous experiences. And so she had an aversion to that model. Okay, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with having an aversion to that model, but it would have been great information for me to know before I
Yeah.
got myself into that situation. And so that's going to be questions like, as an example, please share with me your previous experience working with professionals. How's it gone? What do you like? What do you don't like? Or what do you not like? And things like that really helps me out when I go into the rest of the planning, so that I know, okay, she doesn't like that. Well, we're not going to go with that. And so that's been part of it.
Yeah, it is a really great thing when you are thinking about, and you're in this business of you're putting together a deal with somebody. If they had a previous experience with somebody else, whatever it was, if they had built a house. So what did you like about your last builder? What did you not like about your last builder? What did you like about your banker? What did you not like about your banker? And because that feeds you with information about, number one, why did they not like that? Is that reasonable to say that they didn't like that? What's it telling you about them? And then also, what is it telling you about just what they prefer and the road that you're going to travel down? So what a lesson, man.
So you got to ask, and then the listening part, and then okay, so she would have told me, okay, I don't like that, or every time I get presented this model every single time, and I feel like it's a ripoff and things like that. Well, that's of course great information for me to have because I'm listening and I care, so that way when we go to get to our solution side of things, I can go back and let her know I heard you. You told me you didn't like this. I heard you. Here's another option for us that we can work together and we can still accomplish your goals just the same in just a different way. And so that builds trust. And I've always had, whenever you meet with any professional, at least in my experience in other areas, you want to sit down with somebody and you want them to listen to you. You need them to hear you.
They're not even thinking to tell you, and they may make the assumption that, well, everybody does it this way. And you have to talk about those things, get them out on the table and visit with them.
Yeah. The burden is on me, the professional. I should know better, and I should be the one asking.
Part of what I'm sensing, from the trust credit score is motives. So your motives were pure. You weren't trying to do anything. And people need to understand, our motives are to serve you. I'm going to be compensated, but because your motives were pure, you weren't trying to, do a bait and switch, and none of that was going on, which brings us to the bigger question. Are all clients perfect for you?
Oh, certainly not. Yes, certainly not. And the main reason for that is a couple of things. Number one, this is my life. I mean, this is my professional life. And so, of course, I want to be helping and doing business with people that we have a like for each other and we can communicate well between each other. And of course, they need to be entrusting me to give them the proper guidance to make sure their money is safe and secure and everything else going on with what I offer. But same way on the other side, which is, any recommendations that I make, I am completely exposed. Our clients, thankfully, in my line of work in financial services, have all the say in the sense that it's their word against mine in a way they can say, well, no, we told you to invest this much, not that much, and it doesn't matter how much documentation I have or anything of that. I mean, it helps. But in the end, when it comes to disputes and things like that, it's really the advisor's in big trouble. And so it's important that I have trust in them that they're not going to come and hurt me just because they're upset, just because the market is down. And that's typically when you see it, by the way, is when we're in down markets, usually not in up markets, it's down markets. You'll see the billboards. The next time we are in a bear market, maybe you'll remember me saying this, you'll see the billboards. Unhappy with your financial advisor, call us attorneys.com and we'll sue them. You see it in every bear market and we'll see it in the next one. And so that's another thing. So my clients are like family to me. They're my friends. We're super close and there's good communication between us. And nobody I have any kind of feeling like, okay, I need to worry about something in the future.
I think that's great. And I think the way you described it and the way you walked way through it, and I love what you said about the attorneys and bear markets, and they took advantage of a disadvantage, but that's their job. It's how they make money, I guess. So whatever. But I'm thinking, again, I'm thinking about the trust credit score, and we have these accelerators. And so in a situation where motives, that's what she questioned, I guess, motives, or just strategy of how you do things, you were clear of what a fiduciary does through the lens of fiduciary. You talked about it. You gave transparency around compensation. You named the conflicts of interest. You wish you would have done that earlier. Now that's what you're going to do. Say do nothing when appropriate. Boy, restraint and just, biting your tongue sometimes is a good thing. But then you did all the right things, But what the final story is, she just wasn't the right client for you. And that didn't make you good or bad. It's just not the right one. She had a different model in her mind, right?
Absolutely. And it was it's a learning lesson. It's a gift in that way, right? So,
Yeah.
so I got to learn from that. And, just in her eyes, I just became just like every other financial advisor she had talked to in the past, which was not what I was hoping for, or looking for in my process. And so I've since have adjusted my model, and now I can pivot and, hey, we don't like that arrangement. Totally fine. We can do this other option as well. And it works great. So all the positive out of it. And she was not right for me.
Here's something else that I see. You and her were able to move on. And
Mhm.
sometimes I wish I could say that I have a 100% closing rate.
Yeah.
I don't. And we just have to, for whatever reason, we move on. But where we can build trust, and trust is a two-way street, where we can build trust, then that's some of the accelerators that we're looking for. That's the whole bottom line. I'm Scott Carley, the Change Energizer, and I am fired up to be speaking this April at the Center for Coaches in Organization Summit, better known as CCO. This powerful virtual event is designed specifically for executive and leadership coaches who want to elevate their impact. My topic is Breakthrough Kinetic Leadership, and I'll be introducing you to the Kinetic Leadership Formula for crushing barriers and fueling momentum. You'll discover the magic of moving from energy at rest to kinetic breakthrough motion and learn exactly what it takes to get big ideas across the finish line. So grab your ticket and join me and an incredible community of coaches this April for the virtual CCO Summit. Let's get you in motion. Well, do you have another story? Do you want to share anything else with us?
I can share one where I knew within the first conversation it was going to be a bad fit for me. If
Okay.
you're interested in that one, so I got a call. It was actually a referral from an accountant, from a CPA. One of their clients had asked, "Hey, do you know a good investment person I can talk to?" And so, then they were kind enough to recommend me, which was great. And so, in our conversation, it was this particular gentleman. He was looking for, in my view, very, very high rates of return in his portfolio. Okay. And so this is a good one for us as financial professionals to make sure we take a deep breath, take a step back, and make sure we're clear in the sense that we do not promise returns. If you have a financial professional promising you returns above guaranteed type fixed interest rate type product returns, you've got an issue there. We cannot control the markets. We do not control the economy. And
Right.
so being able to quote returns specifically certainly in short periods of time, Scott, and when I say that, I mean maybe like 9 years or less. Once we get further and further out, returns become more predictable. But this particular gentleman was looking at, we're talking double what maybe the stock market would average over a 20 or 30-year period of time. Okay. So as soon as I heard that, I had to say, sir, I cannot deliver that for you, or at least verbally, and promise you that. It's just simply too high. And I took a step back and spent time to explain why I felt that way. And he decided I was not the guy for him, and that is totally fine. And I do hope he's doing well in his portfolio and found the right person and everything else. But it was one where I needed to go ahead and walk away, which is always a tough move. But in that one
Yeah.
was pretty clear. That's the one that will end with the attorney, eventually calling you and not the call you want. So
There were two things that come to my mind as you're talking about that. One was one of the trust pillars is core values. And you have core values about being honest and being reasonable and stating that, I cannot give you that. Instead of lying to them or stretching the truth beyond exaggeration, your core values made you say, I can't promise that I can make that happen. Now, that's a big trust credit score. I I want people to tell me the hard message that I don't really want to hear, but I would rather know the truth than a lie.
The fear of the known is always better than the fear of the unknown, or certainly it's something that you feel like is true, but isn't. And absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And so,
And that kind of
yeah,
thing can
hmm
cause people to come back later. Scott told me
it
the
can.
truth. He didn't feed me a line. He told me the truth. What do you think about that? Have you ever had somebody come back because you told them the truth, and when they got into a better place, they thought, that guy was right?
I can share where it's a little bit different. The couple came to me. They first went to a big name insurance company, and they got sort of what I would consider the typical financial advisor experience where, in the first or second meeting, they're being pitched investment products or insurance products and things like that without the proper planning put in place and the trust being built and everything else. And it's intimidating, the language when you think about in my industry, the big companies that are creating controlling, I mean, the terms are confusing. Look at any financial statement, it's confusing, and it's designed that way. And the whole concept of Wall Street and financial services is what the clients don't know benefits us.
Yeah.
And so you're, as a client, you're already at a disadvantage there right away. And so when you go into these big name places, they know that. And so people get taken advantage of. And so long story short, they had a bad experience there. They went back to a different CPA who then eventually recommended they come talk to me. And their trust, I had to overcome the fact that they had had a bad experience. So it's not like they
Oh,
came in at like a level. They were already at like negative trust. So they were already like sort of against, the whole concept of getting advice to begin with. And so it took extra time and extra patience beyond the normal.
now you got
Okay.
me curious. What did you
hmm
do to help accelerate that trust in some of the different areas like, body language, expertise, track record, core values? What are some things that you used, thinking back that helped you build drop by drop, brick by brick, their trust again? What'd you do?
So, and this was something that I learned in my previous career as well as a financial services wholesaler is what I needed to do there was give them a chance to come in. Now, usually my first meeting, it's an introduction. I can get to know them and get into some questions about where they want their life to go. And we can start to build a little bit of financial planning in there and give them a chance to get to know me, everything like that. But this meeting was all about me just letting them vent it out. And I just had to sit back and I asked a bunch of questions about how did it go? Like what, because
Wait a
they were
minute, hold
really,
on. You mean you listened to them?
well, sure, sure. I was genuinely, of course, curious as to because I need to know what their previous experiences are. Like I mentioned in my first example, okay,
A lot of people just
and
want to be heard, right?
yeah, but you got to let these people, in this case, there was this whole bad experience that they had was still pretty fresh in their minds. So I needed to give them a chance to vent it out and just kind of rant, if you will, a little bit. And we really spent the whole first meeting doing nothing but that. And, I got a little bit of a chance to show my process and get a little bit, hey, I'm different. Don't worry. You're not going to have that problem here. Okay. But it was probably, what normally would have been like maybe one meeting of introduction. Here's how I'm going to help you. Here's the basics of my process and everything like that. It took like three, and people are busy, right? So it might, sometimes a couple of weeks goes by between these meetings. And so what normally might have taken a week takes a month and a half.
What I'm
Mhm.
hearing is that you were patient. I mean, if I could give you a fist bump, I'd give you a fist bump right now,
Yeah. Yeah. Got to be patient. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you were patient, you listened, and you paid attention to what was going on because you were in it for the long game, not the short game. I love that. But you just went up a notch on my trust credit score with you. You listened. You played the long game. I love that.
Yeah. And if you're working with somebody and they've got a problem that's like, you can just tell it's weighing them down. It's on their chest. It's on the front of their mind. Just let them get it out, and I'm the I was in the perfect scenario for them to go ahead and do it. And so that was my way of helping them in that first meeting was, let's just get it out there. Tell me how frustrated you were about it. How did it, where was all the different, and it was all these different things. I mean, it was a bunch of stuff. And so they're great people, and they're very trusting people. And so, it upset me hearing the story. It gives me even more motivation to turn that around for them. And anyway, so it was cool. It was a good thing in that way.
I hear some other stuff. I mean, forgive me, but I just think it's we're talking about something pretty important here. Sometimes when those kind of things come up, it's industry bashing. All financial advisors, all wealth, all fiduciary, and for you to be able to just listen and let it not land, but just listen and take it in, and then show them it's not everybody. You're in a different office, and we hope to change how you feel about how things can be done. And that's what I see in you. That's one of the neat things that I see about you, Scott, that I've been around you a while, is that you are really creating a great brand for the financial services in your area for what you're doing. I like that. That's a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm not alone, Scott. There's other really good planners out there that do the right thing, and thankfully, and thank you for saying that. I'll share one last thing here on that note was, I've learned early in my career as a young man, I was fortunate and then lucky enough to learn from other older financial advisors and planners that also do that do it the right way. And I remember a gentleman was really, really close with, really close friend of mine. And he explained a story where he had a new client come in, and she had been in kind of similar things. She had a bad experience and had really been really ripped off. I mean, really, moved from this account to that account to this account to all this crazy stuff that made no sense. And so she ended up paying, absorbent amounts of costs that she didn't need to pay. And so she gets to this gentleman, and he evaluates and has all these conversations with her and realizes, okay, look, I'm going to help you, but I am not going to charge you any cost for a while because you have paid way too much already. And so he took a hit for her and did the right thing, which was appropriate, and even more so. And so, it made an impact on me. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's how you're supposed to handle a situation like that. And the fact that he was going to do all this work for her for completely free because he felt like she had been, really in a bad spot because of these bad actors.
That's very interesting. I appreciate you, sharing with, our audience some of these stories. Are there any trust accelerators, being conscious of the trust credit score? Are there any trust accelerators that you're intentional about when you're out there networking and you're trying to meet people and see if what they need you can take care of them? Tell me what you do. Anything in particular?
Yeah, I'd say probably most common would be the most important one for me, Scott, is going to be the core values, being similar, or, and because I have a deep network that I absolutely rely on in my business, as I'm an expert in this area, but I'm not an expert in everything. And so there's lots of situations where I need to be helping my client in that area, and I need to get them in front of a professional that handles that. Okay. And that's where my trust in them would come in, because they're now representing me. And so I'd say that when I'm out networking and building relationships with other professionals, that can be a part of my network for direct client work, such as an insurance agent, as an example, someone that handles homeowners insurance, auto insurance, and things like that. That's a great way for me to see if it's important for me as insurance planning to make sure that my client isn't overpaying for that kind of stuff and has the proper coverage that they need. But I'm not the expert there. I need to get them in touch with the expert and that's where the core values of, making sure there's good communication, and that, when we're in that situation where it's like, look, I can't help you here, or you're better off staying right where you are, backing off and saying, let's check in a year and see if we can improve things. But for now, you've got everything you need. So
I think that's fantastic. Again, what I'm hearing is you're looking for people that are vetted, and you have vetted them so that you can, when you make a referral or a recommendation, it's not just somebody you just met the other day. You don't really know anything about them, but you've got that referral vetted. I believe that. So what about your vibe when you come into a networking meeting, and of course, now I've seen you folks. You need to go to his YouTube and watch him. He's got some cool things. I mean, he looks like one of these financial advisors. He's so but man, he puts his wig on. He talks to himself, and he's lightening things up, because sometimes we get too serious about this. So, what kind of vibe do you bring when you walk into a meeting, a luncheon? What kind of vibe do you bring into a place like that?
thank you, Scott. I appreciate your kind words, man. Just positivity, just positive energy, in general. When you first think, oh, hi, I'm Scott Schiller, financial advisor, you're thinking, oh, this is serious. And yes, of course, I take my work very seriously, of course, but it can also be made fun, and let's have fun with it, and try to look at things at a different angle. And so that's what I've done with some of my videos. And in the end, it's all about education, and there's always a message underlying. But a challenge, of course, is making it fun. And trying to make financial advice fun, Scott, is a heck of a challenge. It's like it's like making mud interesting. It's not easy. So it's always a challenge. But of course, my goal is number one goal, of course, is education, and in a place where my clients can see me, and people that become my clients will go and watch my videos maybe before they meet me, or maybe after my first meeting, and we have some fun with it.
Yeah, folks, I've seen some of his videos. You need to go. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him in YouTube, and just watch that, because he comes in, and there's something going on around the country or the world, and he'll stop and talk to you about it and say, I would invite you to consider, don't be a moron and do something that could really mess you up. So, definitely do that. Go take a look at what he's doing. I have found personally that when people hear me speak, because that's what I do, I have a tendency to get booked for other speaking engagements and things like that. And I don't know that anybody sees you be a financial advisor, but when they see you engage with people, and people are thankful that you have got their back with their finances and their wealth management and planning for what the future, the present and the future will look like, that's a great feeling. So thank you for the way that you do that. I love it.
Well, you're welcome, Scott. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's great. And it's a lifetime relationship. I will leave this earth as a financial planner. You can mark my words. That is what I do. It is my passion. And the clients that I bring on, the goal is to have them with me forever. Of course, they can leave me any day they want, but that's the goal.
That's very cool. Cool. Well, is there anything you want to add or you want to say before we wrap this up today?
No, just get Scott's book. Please check it out. It's absolutely awesome. Doesn't matter what line of work you're in. Trust is the foundation. And if you're a small business owner like me, our most valuable asset is our reputation, period. And trust is where that comes from. And so if you haven't picked up his book and read it, I highly recommend it. You will definitely get some good takeaways from it. It'll make you better. And no matter what stage you're in, if you're just starting your business today, or if you've been in 30 years, doesn't matter. You'll get something good from it. So I highly recommend it. Thank you for having me, Scott.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I deeply appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody that's been here today, just checking this out and listening. Here's the deal about trust. We're working on getting a high trust credit score. Trust is earned in drops, lost in buckets. And all of us have times when we fracture trust with somebody. And sometimes, it's something that we neglected. Sometimes it's something that didn't come up at a conversation, but whatever it is, we can do our best to rebuild that trust if those clients will let us. And that's what this session was about today. And Scott, I want to thank you for opening up about a few situations, some that you were able to rebuild trust and some that it didn't work out. And they don't always work out, and that's not necessarily your fault. So I want to thank you for tuning in today, and come back and see us again. We're up here every couple of weeks. And if you have a conference and they need a speaker, I would be delighted to bring the Change Energizer hot seat live to your conference. And we will pick somebody out of the audience, well, a key leader, and we can ask them some of the trust credit score questions and let them showcase why they are trustworthy. So thank you very much for being here. And until next time, Scott Carley, Scott Schiller, have a great week.